This episode of the Wedding Film School Show is brought to you by MusicBed, the best music licensing platform for wedding filmmakers. Head over to themusicbed.com and enter our code WFS on checkout to get a free month on your annual wedding subscription. Now, on to the show.
Do you think it's absolutely essential to get into like planner weddings to really maximize your income as a wedding filmmaker?
100%.
Yeah.
It is absolutely necessary. Understanding, how they operate, what they do, not being selfish and saying, well, that doesn't work for me. You should be looking at opportunities to make their life easier, even if it is at a detriment to yourself or takes you a little bit of extra time.
If you don't see being a helpful and dependable part of these wedding planners, their own workflow as marketing, I don't think you're getting it.
I'ma get right in my bag. Why you gonna try to get mad? Everybody wanna keep up. Don't you know I move too fast? I'ma zip right past. Drip all on my swag.
Hey guys, welcome to the Wedding Film School Show. We got a bit of a different set today because I wanted to do something a little bit different. And honestly, I was a little lazy and just wanted to do what was easy for me. And also, I have a special co-host today, Lindsey Conklin from Rêve. How you doing, Lindsey?
I'm good. I heard this is co-host auditions. You're having co-host auditions.
Yeah, we're going to be changing up the show. And so you
love
guys,
it.
for free, will be coming co-hosting the show. We can both make no money off Wedding Film School.
That's
together.
right. So make sure you text Rev to 001. No, I'm just kidding. Put your vote in. Just kidding.
Yeah.
No, thanks, Jason, for having me. I'm excited. This is great.
Yeah. So Lindsey and I have known each other for a couple of years. Obviously, there's like 7 wedding filmmakers in the world. And so it's pretty easy to get to know each other. And so we've gotten to know each other through Vision Quest with Alex Douglas and those folks, and of course on the forums. And I've always respected what Lindsey does. Lindsey is obviously, and of course your wife Cherish, are excellent filmmakers and editors, and they work in the luxury space. You haven't heard of them. They're Harper's top 10 list. They're working all kinds of destination weddings around the world. And of course, does she do any of these speaking engagements, or does she leave them all to you, Lindsey?
She mostly leaves them all to me. However, we are both going to be appearing at the Wedding Film Retreat early next year in 2023. So they said it was a package deal. They said they wouldn't let me come unless she came and spoke too. So
That's awesome. But
Yeah.
You might have seen Lindsey at like Venture or various different other speaking engagements. But Lindsey, today, before we kind of get into our topic though, I'm going to be throwing at you one of the most challenging gauntlets in wedding filmmaking known to man, called 3 questions. Are you ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
It's pretty intense and might be a little outside of your area of expertise. But the first question is, what is in your kit?
Oh, this is a tough one. No, I'm just kidding. So what is in my kit? So we like the Canon cinema cameras. We're partial to those. And so my main camera that I use is a Canon C300 Mark III. Cherish uses a C70. And then our third camera, our C camera, is a Canon C200. We're just using the EF lenses. We haven't switched over to RF lenses yet. And because we're traveling and I have to keep it super nimble, I don't have external monitors or anything like that. I'm using the LCD screens, and I get jealous every time I have a second shooter or I'm somewhere where they're shooting on these awesome like 5 and 7-inch LCD screens. And then I shoot mainly on a lot of gimbal stuff. So believe it or not, I put my C300 on a RS3 gimbal from DJI. Cherish is doing more monopod and handheld stuff, the C70. We use Practolites. I know, Jason, you like those Aperture 60X.
This is what I'll say about that. I wish I didn't like how the light looked better on the Aperture, because the Practolite I like better in every other way.
It just is so much easier for us to travel. And you know what, to be honest, like sometimes there are weddings where we don't even bring out the Practolites because there's a lighting technician, that's like spotlighting and everyone, for toasts and all that stuff. So I'm very fortunate that way. We're using for audio recording Zoom F6, Mavic 3 drone. I like that. We try and keep it light. I travel with 2 backpacks and a carry-on suitcase that holds 99% of the gear we bring to weddings.
So the next question is, why don't you tell everybody a wedding that you guys have shot, maybe you can give me a couple, but a wedding that you've shot that you feel like just kind of exemplifies your signature style, something you're really proud of.
I would say, unfortunately, there are certain weddings that we're really proud of, but we're not allowed to share with anyone. Unfortunately, but some of our weddings of note, we've been fortunate to film weddings that are a little bit higher, got a little bit more attention than others. Like we did DJ Tiesto's wedding. That was pretty cool. That was one of our first big, celebrity weddings. Recently, we just did Sean McVay's wedding, the head coach of the Rams, and that was pretty cool because their wedding actually was postponed because of COVID, and they postponed it 1 year. And between the time that they postponed it to the time they had the wedding, he ended up winning the Super Bowl. So it was awesome. It was like perfect timing. So that was kind of cool. That was a good one. There's a wedding we did a couple years ago during COVID, like in 2020. Super small wedding, and they did an intimate wedding in Maine. And to this day, it's still one of our like most commented on weddings. Like potential couples that reach out to us and they say, we really love that wedding you did in Maine, just the storytelling and the emotions and the visuals and stuff like that. So that was pretty cool. But I like all of our weddings, and we try and make them different. We try and match our style to the couple and their personality, and I think that's something one that we do really good with and that we're really strong with. But yeah, these are tough questions, Jason.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's not like
I didn't know there was going to be a pop quiz.
Can I say, we try to challenge the audience, but also the filmmaker to grow, and that's kind of our thing.
Thank you. I've said like and about 1,600 times. So
and you've just talked about
I'll work
yourself.
on that.
So
yeah.
Hey,
it's really
so
hard.
My final question in this gauntlet that we're going through is, why don't you tell everyone about the LUT packs that Rêve is releasing now, right?
Yeah, they're available now for a limited time. We're super excited about this. We get a lot of comments and from other filmmakers, hey, what cameras are you using? What LUTs are you guys using? And or when are you going to sell your LUTs? And so we've kind of toyed with the idea for off and on for a while. And I was resistant to it at first, but we've finally decided to release a LUT collection. This is LUTs that we created, we developed. It's what we use to color grade all of our films, and we're excited to release those to the general public. It is available now. It's only available till October 17th, so you got to grab them before they're not available anymore. We just kind of wanted to get them out there and get feedback from people, see how people use them. And so it's already, we're getting great feedback. I had somebody just this morning send me a video that they created grading it exclusively with our LUTs, and we were so relieved. I showed Cherish, and we were just like had this just weight off of our shoulders, because you just never know when you we know how to use it, we like it, we think it's cool, but just to get that feedback from other people once it's in their hands is really cool. So you could go to LaRevLuts.com and place your order there. We're super excited. We're nervous. We're feeling a little vulnerable, but excited to kind of share those with everybody and see what people create with them.
So, Lindsey, when we were talking about what we really wanted to talk about on the show, one of the things that always comes up when we're just talking about our businesses, which in a lot of ways would seem very different. I'm doing 220 weddings this year. You're doing what?
Well, this year because of COVID, we're doing about 24, but next year it'll be capped at about 12.
Yeah, so I'm doing 10 times more wedding films than you are. And I think a lot of people, when they look at my business and Rêve, they'd be like, oh, they're so different. Like they're doing this. And every time we talk, correct me if I'm wrong, but I kind of feel like a lot of times we have the exact same strategies to do a very different thing.
Oh yeah, it's uncanny how similar our business models line up, and even though we have completely different businesses, we have different goals for the amounts of weddings that we're doing, the types of weddings we're doing, but the philosophy behind it, the principles behind how we approach getting new weddings, getting referrals, and getting new work is very, very similar, and it's always fun to like share notes, when we're talking or whatever.
Yeah.
You do that. Oh, I do that too,
Yep. And so the basic topic today is how to make wedding planners love you. And this is something that comes up in our conversations a lot. And there are times where I'm like, well, of course everyone's doing this. Like, duh, like how do you even function in a wedding business without doing this? That's kind of how indispensable it feels to me as a wedding filmmaker, this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's fundamental to our business. We're pretty much 100% referral based. I don't advertise. Occasionally we'll get a client that finds us through Instagram and hires us, but primarily it's referral based. And so if you don't have relationships with wedding planners, at least for me anyway, I wouldn't have a business. So it's extremely important to our business that we have these relationships. We foster those relationships and make sure we're serving these wedding planners so that we can make them happy and they'll keep asking us back.
Yeah. So let me set the topic up for the listeners. So basically what we decided we wanted to talk about was, like I said, how to make wedding planners love you. And by that we mean to be, referred by them, to be in some cases indispensable to them as a preferred partner. And really like it's of course relationship and networking. There's a component. That's something I believe you've covered a lot, right? Throughout many different of your speaking and podcast interviews, networking and things like that. Right.
Yeah, it comes up a lot. We're kind of known for that, because we've built a business on it, and people always want to know, like, how did you get to, where you're at? How are you doing these types of weddings? How are you working with these people? The simple answer is networking and relationships. So we talk about it a lot, but I like the take that we're going to have on it, discuss today. Because I don't usually get to cover these topics or get this far. So this is going to be fun for me for sure.
Yeah. So we want to talk about some stuff you can do when you're working with this person. And of course there's going to be elements of like before the wedding, during the wedding, after the wedding, but like you're working with this person, and the reason we wanted to talk about it is because a lot of I talk to a lot of people in consults and there are people who maybe don't work with planners that often. I don't want to exclude you, so I think some of this kind of stuff could definitely work with day of coordinators that are at venues and all that. I think maybe not as well because they're not as involved as long, but definitely wherever you're at, I think you can take these tips and apply them. And the real thing I wanted to say was, don't just think about celebrity wedding planners. Like whatever planner you're working with, that's the planner you have. That's the bird in hand. And they could be like, they're going to be the entire key to getting you up in wherever you want to be, right? It doesn't matter if they're a celebrity wedding planner.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, everyone, there are a lot of people in this industry that are aspirational. They want to grow their business. They want to make something of themselves and their business, and they want to do better weddings. And so sometimes just attaching yourself to somebody else that, is growing their business, they'll bring you up with them.
Yeah, you never know.
And you never, ever know. And yeah, same thing with venues. Like you mentioned, venues. There are certain venues that it is, luxury hotels and things like that, it is good to get to know those people, different opportunities that arise from that. And there's a lot of venues that they require a wedding planner to be hired to have the wedding there, so those are really good venues to get in with, because not only are you if you're in with them, but then you're going to be working with a wedding planner too. So that's another awesome opportunity. But
yep.
Yeah, it's crucial.
So Lindsey, before we get into like kind of some of the tips and things that we are going to be talking through, how, like, you said 100% of your weddings have wedding planners. Do you think it's absolutely essential to get into like planner weddings to really maximize your income as a wedding filmmaker?
100%.
Yeah.
It is absolutely necessary. The way it goes is the people that have the money to spend the money, that they want to invest, they want to have a nice event, they're busy making that money, right? So they hire a wedding planner to take care of everything for them. And so, they're letting them, here's our vision, here's what we want, make it happen for us, because they're busy people. And so, usually a couple that can afford a wedding planner is naturally going to be able to afford a videographer that's charging a little bit more, even above average, above the industry average. And just, really, it's just going to elevate your work.
Yeah.
Somebody that's planning their own wedding, it's a lot of DIY, it's a lot of Pinterest, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when there's a wedding planner involved, there might even be a designer to that wedding. Maybe the planner is doing both the planning and the design. So
by the way, they're different. If you're listening to this,
yes.
Designers are not wedding planners necessarily. Like
Yes.
most of the planners we work with have a separate designer.
That's correct. Yeah, same here. And by the way, planners are not coordinators. Just as a side note, they do not like to be called coordinators either. So if we're talking about making them happy and being indispensable, don't call them a coordinator.
No.
But yeah, so a wedding with a planner, and especially a wedding with a planner and a designer, it's just going to look nicer. It's going to make naturally your work look better. It's going to make it look more expensive because the content, the subject matter, is more expensive. And really, like, for us, we always, we look at the planner as being our client, but also we look at them as being like a remote salesperson for us.
Yes.
When they're, when we're on their radar and they're, we're somebody that they want to work with, they're selling us to the couple. So a lot of times we don't even have to like sell ourselves. The couple trust the planner, and the planner says, yeah, this is who you need to hire. This is I've thought about it. I just knowing you and knowing what you want. This is the videographer that you need to hire. This is the photographer that you need to hire. And the couple trusts the planner and says, okay, sounds good. How much? Great. Perfect. Send over the contract.
I always tell people it seems crazy, but I will have some planners send me 4 to 5 invoices in a day. I've never spoken to the couple. Some of them actually don't want me speaking to the couple until they book me. And then they will be like, now we'll put you in contact with the couple and you can talk about that is how much they're part of our sales. We have to send them videos in the off season, Lindsey, explaining our packages.
Yeah. You have to train them
because they need to be able
keep
to
them in the loop,
sell the packages for us, because a lot of them, that's their preferred style. They don't want me getting in front of a client and screwing it up, or they just want it to feel more low touch by the client. I don't know all the reasons, to be honest, Lindsey. but
it shouldn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. We have to do what makes their life easier, what makes them happy, even if it's more difficult for us. I was just thinking about, when even something as simple as sending over a proposal.
Oh yeah.
We've always sent PDFs. We send PDF proposals, contracts, all that stuff. Ever since we started working with planners, Honeybook kind of went out the window because the planner wanted more control, especially hiring clients. The planner doesn't want to give out phone numbers or email addresses or information for their clients. And so Honeybook and CRMs like that kind of stopped working for us. But so we started just sending PDFs proposals, PDF contracts. And then, there's, popular opinions out there, floating around about, oh, you should have a web, a web proposal.
Like a URL.
Yeah, like a website, pricing page or proposal page. It's more user-friendly. It's mobile-friendly, all that stuff. And so that kind of got into my head, and I knew better. I felt it. I was like, no, we should just keep sending these PDFs. But I was like, it kind of got into my head. I'm like, I'm gonna try, creating like a nice web page. And I spent all this time, hours it took me to develop this page. And I sent it to this planner, mind you, one of the biggest planners in the world. And her assistant, I said, hey, how did you like that proposal? I'm like, looking for a pat on the back. And
so much
and
easier,
like,
so much more user-friendly, Lindsey. Thank you. She didn't say that?
No, that's not what happened, actually. She's like, yeah, I mean, it's nice, but like it totally kind of messes up our workflow. If you could just send us PDFs next time, like that's what we need, because we have to file them and print them, and it's just easier. And and that was like, okay, that's it.
We did the same thing, Lindsey. We've had to create. We still use Honeybook, but honestly, I'm looking at maybe switching off to a more customizable CRM, because planners don't like it. And many of them hate it, actually. And they will pick their vendors based on what is good for them. And so I think that's the core thing I want to get at. So this will help your business. if you're not working with planners, you want to. And so my little tip, aside from all this, is if you don't know who the biggest planners are in your market, invest some time and figure it out. And the biggest way to know is who's the biggest photographer in your market. Go look at who's tagging them. Go look at the best venues in your market. Go look at who's working those weddings. Find the designers and the planners who are working all the best weddings in your market. Those are the top of the top. Now, of course, there's a range of different people working wherever you want to be. That's who you need to work with. That's my whole point. So if you want to work at, 5-star hotels and luxury venues, you got to work with those planners. If you don't want to work in those locations, whatever. But that's really what we're trying to say is they are the gatekeepers of most of these places. Destination weddings, high-end venues. I do a massive amount of private club weddings, which are super rich people's vacation homes, basically. And they're the gatekeepers. You don't get into the Wiano Club without a wedding planner. You're not even getting really into Witchmere Beach Club without knowing their day of person. You're not getting into, and these are not super inaccessible places, guys, that no one could work. It's not like a Lindsey Conklin wedding. And I'm trying to make it relatable to you. You got to make this part of your plan to work with these people. But when you do this, you have to, without resentment at all, you have to learn and understand that this is something you will benefit from. You have to understand that your first job, and this is the first thing we're going to talk about, Lindsey, is making their lives easier. What have you found
100%.
that has helped you? So we're talking about making people love you. What are some of the things that you do that make a planner's job easier, that make them love you?
Well, yeah, we kind of just talked a little bit about it. One of the first things is understanding their process, understanding, how they operate, what they do, and not being selfish and saying, well, that doesn't work for me. That's going to take me more time. Already that's one strike against you because your mindset isn't even correct. You should be looking at opportunities to make their life easier, even if it is at a detriment to yourself or it takes you a little bit of extra time. And going back to our Honeybook illustration, maybe the planner loves Honeybook. Maybe you live in a market where all the planners are using Honeybook. Well, then get Honeybook and don't squawk about the payment or, the monthly payment or the yearly payment or whatever it is, So whatever you can do to make their life easier is going to be so much better. You don't want to be going against the grain. You want to be the one that's just on top of it. So answering emails right away if they ask a question or if they send you an inquiry or anything like that is huge. I know so many planners that tell me they'll email vendors and they don't get a response back. And saying that you're busy for some people doesn't cut it. Because we're all busy. Everyone's busy.
You can't. Yeah, you're not. I'm never too busy for my planners.
No, you can't. And if you think you're busy, they're way busier because not only are they dealing with the couple that's getting married and the couple's family, the mom and dad and everybody else that has opinions, but they're also coordinating all the different vendors. They have to think of everything when it comes to production and design and flowers and photography and catering and all these things. You are just one spoke in this massive wheel, and you're not the most important spoke.
Yep.
And so that's something you have to keep in mind. So not having an ego, not being humble, being willing to serve, just having that attitude. So I think it starts first with the mindset, how you can make looking for ways to serve them, to make their life easier is going to go such a long way when it comes to getting on that list. You want to be,
it's a very short list.
Yes.
List. Most of the planners I know have a list of 5 people that they work with.
Yeah.
On each
and
vendor
you
source.
That's right. And you want to be hopefully close to the top of that list.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so it's weddings are stressful, especially higher end weddings. There's a lot of moving parts. And so, the planners, they want to work with people that are going to make their life easy. They want to work with people that are not going to question everything. They want to work with people that are going to actually read the timeline.
Yeah, I was going to say that's one of the things I was telling Lindsey on the phone the other day. We're talking about timelines, and I have this planner I work with a lot, like a lot, like probably 8 times a year. And she's like, I asked her a question. By the way, I was going to tell you something too. I didn't tell you the real story. I asked her, hey, is this still happening at 6:15? What I was really saying to her is, this doesn't seem like it's going to happen. I did look at the schedule, and I think, but I just was trying to defer to her in the way that I spoke to her. But she was like, Jay, I sent you a timeline. And I was like, yeah, but it's like 16 pages long, and it has a lot of details. Sorry, I didn't internalize it all. But they notice, and she says, you're the only planner, you're the only wedding filmmaker that can say that to me. But
no,
they notice.
They notice. I did the same thing, and that's a great way to approach it too. Never ask a planner what's happening next, especially if they send a timeline, and they did. There's no way you're going into a wedding with a planner without a timeline. So you never go up to them and say, what's happening next? When do we eat? That type of stuff.
Oh, I never ask a planner, when do I eat?
Oh, that's
Don't ask that.
You will very likely not work with that planner again if you ask when you eat. But there are creative ways that you can, like you said, make sure you're still on track. And just like what you said, like, hey, I noticed the timeline says this. Are we still on track for that? Happening at 6:15 or 6:30, whatever it is. I actually did that same thing to a planner, and she stopped me. She didn't answer my question because first she stopped, she paused, and she's like, oh my gosh, Lindsey, you read the timeline? She was like, thank you so much for reading the timeline. She's like, nobody reads the timeline. She's like, the photographer at this wedding hasn't even read the timeline. It's driving me crazy, So they notice, like you said.
I have it on a PDF on my phone, open all day.
Oh yeah, and we actually. So sometimes you get timelines that are like massive, right? And there's a lot of details that don't pertain to you, and it can be cumbersome, So we actually make our own timeline. So we take the planner's timeline, and before going into the wedding day or whatever it is, we make our own timeline that has all of the main events. And all the other things that concern us and that we need to know about, as well as like our own exclusive details, like when we need to go set up for ceremony or, set up for toast or audio and stuff like that. So, and that's just another thing that we do that makes their life easier because we're on schedule, we're on task, we know what's happening. We're not going to derail their day, if we're taking the couple to go do this or that or, whatever it is. So, just being easy to work with, understanding, that it's not all about you. It's huge.
Yeah, and I think there's it changes the more you work with people. By the way, I feel like the more you build trust with a partner, the more making their lives easier. It kind of changes a little bit. Like I'm at the point with some planners where I'll be like, don't hire that lighting guy. Like that guy's not good. He just screwed your wedding.
Yeah.
And like they were like, oh, like they hire who I say they should hire based on my feedback. But I have built massive trust. I am pouring into their business. I'm giving them every free thing I can give them. I'm killing it for their clients. And we'll get into some of this other stuff because I'm jumping ahead of myself. But like making it easier for them is definitely going to change as your relationship grows because, you might someday be in a position where making it easier for them is letting them know like, hey, I just wanted to give you a heads up. Like that photographer was super rude to every other vendor. And like, by the way, I'm not recommending everyone do that stuff, but I'm just saying you might really have some of those like tools at your disposal in terms of what your insight is to help this person. Definitely you got to wait till that person gives you permission to enter into that kind of relationship with them. But B, like at the end of the day, the longer you work with someone, the more opportunities you're going to have to be at their service.
Yep.
And I really have found that over the years to be like, I'm in relationships now with planners where they're like, hey, can I give you a call? I have some business questions about their business, about marketing, because every time they have a need, I'm availing myself up to them. Oh, I noticed this. Let me help you with this. Let me help you with that. I'm showing them every time that there's an opportunity that I am going to make things as easy as possible for them, and I'm a good go-to person. And so that leads me to something that I was going to ask you about. I think the next thing that we need to think through when it comes to working with planners, you need to be the one who's easy to work with. You're not causing issues with other vendors. You just know what's going on. You just don't have hassles. That's probably the number one thing. If you're a hassle, it's over.
Right.
But I think the next one that's related to that is being dependable. You know, what does that mean to you when it comes to like working with a planner, like being dependable and trustworthy?
Oh, that's everything. Being dependable is huge. Doing what you say you're going to do, I think just in general is some really good life advice, but especially when it comes to business and relationships. You know, a lot of times if you say you're going to do something or be somewhere, that planner is going to let the client know. They're going to make decisions based on what you tell them. And if you don't come through, that's a reflection on them. That now you've just embarrassed them. You've put them in a hard spot. And so, when it comes to like, you know, if you say something, if you say you're going to do something, you do it on time. Hopefully you've done it earlier. So if you say you're going to deliver a film to a client, if you say, you know, you're going to be there at a certain time, you're going to provide a certain deliverable to the client, you need to do that because that is a reflection on them, especially if they're the one that referred you the job. If you don't come through, now they look bad.
This is, I think,
the last thing you want to do. An
understanding people don't really have with wedding planners is like, wedding planners are technically off the clock the day after the wedding, truly. And when they have to hear about their vendors after the wedding, they are mad. They don't like it because they're like, I'm not getting paid to talk to this person anymore. Why am I hearing about this? But they're not going to like, typically they're still going to try to like be classy and help the person. And so like, if you are the one who's getting brides to make phone calls to like, now we're in a good place with our planners. Like every time we have an issue with a client afterwards, like most occasions the planner calls us first and says, I'm really sorry about this person. They seem nuts. And like I watched the video or I did this. I know you guys aren't in the wrong. Like that's what you want to be happening. But what you don't want to be happening is like, why is my client calling and saying that this is 2 months late?
Yeah.
That you're over.
You're done. Yeah. And I see that so many times, like in the Facebook groups and stuff like that, people will be commenting, you know, I have a client that's not happy with, you know, the video, or they want me to do this, or they want me to change that. And I realize that this is a very, you know, there's a lot of different circumstances. There's a lot of different things that, you know, could be playing into that, or a lot of different factors. But something to consider anytime you make any decision with your wedding video business is if there's a planner involved in this wedding that you potentially, you know, want to continue working with, how you treat these situations when a client makes requests has a direct correlation on whether or not you're going to get future business with that planner. You know, how you work with them, you know, how you make edits.
They will put you on every email that that you make, like literally like being rude to someone that has nothing to do with the planner, even if you're 100% in the right. Like you're moving off the dependable scale. You're moving into like, this person's a hothead. This person's undependable. They, you know, the people who just literally just something as simple as like, they look at your contract. They know how long you're supposed to be there. If you leave early, they know.
Yeah.
Like you need to communicate. I am showing up at this time. I had a planner say this to me the other day, Lindsey. They said, oh, well, I know you guys are always early, so because we have a philosophy in our business, we show up an hour before the photographer. That is our, whatever their photographer schedule is, we're an hour early. There's a lot,
and you were there. You were there.
We're always there.
She knew you were going to be there, and you were there.
We're a fixed position in their day.
Yeah.
To the point where they don't ask us when we're going to come. They just look at the photographer's schedule and schedule us an hour early on the timeline.
I love that.
Like,
that's awesome.
That's what you're looking for, is like, I'm a part of their workflow because I'm so dependable. I'm a fixed position. And I always tell people, like, I use that term a lot, and people are like, what are you talking about? Fixed position. It's like, if something's stable, you can build around it. We're not moving. Everything we do, we're dependable. And so when people hire us, they know they're going to get the films on time. They know the couples are going to have a certain experience. They know that the photographer is not going to come and complain about us. They know that we're not going to say, when is my meal?
Yep.
And they also know that we are going to be set up. And this is a weird thing, but like, I've noticed a lot of people, they're just not ahead on the time. We're going to be set up before every event starts. So we're not like
Scrambling.
Yeah, it's like every part about how the day works when you hire us is going to be clockwork and dependable. I'm sure it's the same in your own business.
Oh, yeah. No, and it doesn't matter what your contract says. It does not matter. Obviously, we have contracts that are to protect us when things go wrong. And your contract might say, oh, I'm only here until 10 p.m. Or 9 p.m. or whatever it is. We actually had a situation happen recently. We filmed a welcome party the day before the wedding, and we were only contracted till 9 p.m. Well, the planner comes up to me. She's like, hey, look, I know you're off at 9. And that's fine if you need to take off at 9. However, she's like, I know this group. I've done weddings for this family before. They're a legacy client to me. This is like her, third wedding or fourth wedding with the family. She's like, I just know this group, and like right at 9 is when they're going to start dancing and partying, and I would really love for me to have footage of that. And I said, sure, not a problem. Yeah. Didn't even give it a second thought. Didn't worry about whether or not I was going to get paid for that extra time.
You didn't tell them the rate right there?
No. Nope. Didn't care. Didn't even cross my mind. Because
well, it's funny is like people who are counting pennies oftentimes aren't counting big dollars. It's like,
people they step over dollars to pick up pennies sometimes, And so if I had said, well, okay, we can add an extra hour, but it's going to be this much money, that again, that's a strike one against me, and that may,
think about the other thing we talked about,
thousands
Lindsey,
of dollars.
when it comes to making it easy for them. That person,
yeah,
the first thing they're going to do is probably go, okay, I'll go ask.
Yeah.
Do you think they want to go ask a couple about money in the middle of their wedding? Do you think anyone wants to do that? No planner wants to do it. If you are making a planner ask the couple about paying you more during the wedding, you have the wrong focus. Now, I'm not saying that there's never a wedding that you might be like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah.
Like,
for sure. We've all had those.
Like, I'm not saying it. I'm saying, like, you got to know the difference.
You have to know. You have to recognize, when to choose your battles. And for me, this was a no-brainer. This is this is a planner that we get lots of business, and we work several times a year with. And she loves working with us, and I want to maintain that. And guess what happened? Right at 9 p.m., like 9:01 p.m., is when people started having a good time. They started dancing, and she looks over at me. I'm still there, filming. And she like winks, she winks at me, gives me the head nod. She's like, thank you for staying. Like, she was so happy. So she knew, that I was making a sacrifice too. I even like helped, they weren't really planning on having dancing. So I actually helped move like a coffee table or whatever. So to like make a makeshift dance floor, and like planner saw me do that. That's not my job, but I did it because it's a collaboration. We work together on events like that. And the planner was standing right there, saw me do it. She saw me, staying. And look, I was there for an extra, 30, 45 minutes. It was no sweat off my back. And that was just more points, for us, towards us. And just solidifying with that planner that I'm dependable, that, I can be a team player. So it's huge. And, she's already sending us referrals, for next year. So did I get what I was hoping for? Absolutely. Out of that. Yeah.
I think there's a common misconception in especially amongst wedding creatives, right? Because everybody likes to crap on the knot and, don't go to wedding shows and, all these things that I actually think are usually just elitist garbage. But because it's like different places in your career, different locations, you just got to make money. So,
Yep.
And that never changes. And I think this concept of like, oh, I'm not doing anything. I haven't paid $1 for my marketing. It's like, I don't know, man. I give up tons of money to make free stuff and to do things for planners. That is a lot of my marketing. Like I feel like into the tens of thousands of dollars of investment in these people. And I think at the end of the day, like if you don't see being a helpful, and dependable part of these wedding planners, their own workflow as marketing, I don't think you're getting it. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
No, 100%. Like that to me is just as much a part of the job as like filming the actual wedding. That should be a part of your job description in your own mind. You should be ready and willing to, stop filming and help move something or help do something or go run an errand or whatever it is, or provide free content to a wedding planner, whatever it is. Like that is part of the job. And yeah, it takes time, but what would you rather do? Spend thousands of dollars a month on, Google ads or just, invest that same energy, sweat equity in developing and solidifying relationships with people that are going to continue to sell you, that are continue to put you in front of your ideal client. So
I think we're going to do this as a two-parter, Lindsey, but I was going to mention one thing is like with photographers, like why do you think photographers get so much more out of planners? I'll tell you. First of all, they have one advantage over us, which is their deliverable is far faster to create. Their deliverable is also much, I think, more readily consumed, at least up to this point, on social media. So they have an advantage in the algorithm. Just deliver a photo really quick. They can beat you to the punch. I'm telling you, sometimes I beat the photographer now, and it helps me so much with that wedding plan. It's not that I want to beat the photographers because they're our friends,
right.
But I'm looking at it and like I don't want to be giving them the teaser's done. I tagged you 4 months later. And this is, we're going to get into this next, which is helping them with their marketing and helping them with their own businesses. But like the iron is very cold on that wedding 4 months later.
100%.
They might have already submitted it to brides.
Yeah. It's cold 4 weeks later. It might even be cold 4 days later.
Yep.
Maybe that's a little extreme, but seriously, we do the same thing. We get teasers to our clients pretty quickly. Sometimes the next day, sometimes it does take us a couple days, but the quicker you get content, even if it's just sending clips, like it doesn't necessarily, sometimes we don't even edit a teaser.
You just make like a vertical shot of a detail.
Yeah, vertical, clip, individual files, video files that they can choose what they want to do with. Photographers do that. They'll send them individual files and then the planner picks what they want to show. So we do the same thing.
They can pick songs now. They can make a reel.
Yeah. Yeah, everybody knows how to make a reel now, and if and some of the planners that we work with, they have people in charge of that. They have social media managers, right? So and who love us because
you let them edit your work, Lindsey? How dare
I let them? I do 100%.
I'm just clutching my pearls over here. My artist pearls.
And guess what? Like we have great relationships with, not only the planners, but the people they surround themselves with. We have, there's one of our really good friends. She works for a couple wedding planners that we work with. And by the way, she was instrumental. Her name's Sam, in getting us, our foot in the door with some of these planners. And she just loves us. She's like, oh man, I wish you were doing this wedding because we make it easier for her even, to post on social media. We don't care if she edits our videos. We don't care. She knows what's going to work. She's the expert in social media. I'm not, right? And so just even stuff like that. And it's easier for us. Like if they are happy, if the planner is happy with just receiving like, 5 to 10 different clips of details and moments from the wedding and let them choose, great. Then we can move on, So
why don't we camp on
it's
this
like-
for 1 second? Because I think we
Okay.
can give some real practical tips for people about
Yeah.
creating content for wedding planners quickly. So for me, Lindsey, I always just think, what does the person care about? I sometimes, first of all, ask ahead of time. I'll say, hey, what's special about this design to you?
Yeah.
And they might be like, oh, there's these massive towers, or the hopa, or I want an aerial shot of this tent, whatever it is for them. And then second of all, just use your brain, look at what they put a lot of time into, look at where it is, shoot it. And then I will always say to the planner, like, hey, do you want some footage of me like futzing with this table? Or footage of, okay, let's come over here. I want to get you in it.
Yeah.
Because they want shots of them,
Yep.
So I will always shoot the planner doing something with the table, helping with the dress, doing something that I can put them in their own marketing, because they are the product of their company. And so basically, like, I have a pre-planned list. I'm going to do like 4 or 5 close-ups of a table with a gimbal, 1 or 2 giant pushes into the room, a shot of the ceremony, a shot of the lay flat, and then I'm pretty much done. It's not,
Right.
I'm not like necessarily putting a lot of the couple in the film. If I ever put the couple in the film, it's contextually. It's going to be in a design. First dances,
100%.
ceremonies. You don't need to go culling on these really complicated lists, like where you're like, what's the good footage? It's like if you are shooting it correctly with the planner in mind, you already know, and you just go this, bam.
Yep.
45 minutes.
And you make a good point about asking them what's important to them, because there's certain elements that you may not even realize had a lot of time and energy and care put into them. We did a wedding at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and we asked the planner, hey, what are some of the elements that you really want, the details that you really want to make sure we capture? And the planner points out this bar that was custom built. However, it looked like it belonged in the hotel. It looked like it had been there for 50 years.
Wow.
Because that's just the care, the detail that they went into. So I would have never known had I not asked. We a lot of times we do film the bars, but sometimes they're not that exciting. But this was a really nice, like, curved, like, custom bar that they had built. And so again, had we not asked, we would have never ever known that was an important element.
Yeah, that's always a
because
bummer when you like give the planner something and they go like, but did you get this?
Right.
And you're like,
that's like daggers.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
yeah.
And like, I should have noticed that. I should have caught that. I should have, And I think the next thing I would just say is ask them what time the photographer is doing the details. For them, having the same portfolio sometimes is really beneficial to like, they might have hired that photographer specifically because they like their lay flats.
Yeah.
They don't want your
100%.
lay flat. They want their lay flat on video.
Correct.
And so,
Yeah.
and it saves you time. So like kind of collaborating with that photographer, viewing it as one media delivery where because this is what it is. These people are submitting to magazines, many of them, especially even the ones that you might not think, because they're trying to break into the top of the top. So they're submitting to Brides, Martha Stewart, Vogue, maybe not Vogue, but all those magazines, Carrots and Cake, whatever it is.
Over the Moon.
Yep. And so they're submitting portfolios, and they will have photos, videos, write-ups, everything. They want a cohesive portfolio delivery. So the more you can be part of that process, I just called a planner. I said, hey, I just made an edit of your film, but I need you to talk to your PR person and let them, I want to front load it with the stuff that they say is going to get you the most clicks when we submit to Brides together. And I always use we language. When we do this, when we do that, I ask them ahead of time, are you submitting this one? Make sure you let me know before you submit. I want to make sure to get you this content. Show it to your PR person. Like, I am part of the strategy.
Yep.
I'm sure
awesome.
you're doing the exact same thing.
We do. And what's funny is not to, shamelessly plug our LUTs again.
Plug it.
But one of the like our philosophies behind, why we color grade the way we do is because we feel like our colors, and we're always constantly trying to develop them and make them better, but we feel like our colors go well with a lot of the photographers that we work with and that are doing the types of weddings that we want to do, and so that's part of it too, making sure that your work, your lighting, your exposure, your color, the colors that you choose are going to fit in with the planner's brand. Even if maybe your own personal brand is a little bit different, maybe even switching it up a little bit for clips that you send to the planner so that they can use it on their website. So it's going to look like, their brand and fit in with their brand is something that you should consider.
We don't even if I send a planner reel, I put their logo on the end.
Yeah.
I don't put our logo for the reason of what if I want to do something different?
Yeah. I don't put our logo. I don't put our logo on any of our stuff either, I've had planners, I've said this before on different workshops and other podcasts, but it's important to repeat. I've had planners tell me before they've gotten pictures back or videos back and cried because either A, there wasn't enough, of the details that they were hoping to get, or B, like the color grading was just like not at all a representation of their vision or their interpretation of the bride's vision. And so that's why sometimes you'll even see like some of the weddings planners that we work with, sometimes they bring in their own photo and video teams just to capture details. And so if that's happening, that's
maybe
not good. Like
missed opportunity for you.
Huge missed opportunity.
This is what I'll say too about the artistic side of that. And I think this is an interesting kind of little diversion is, a lot of what we're talking about today is like all about putting someone else ahead of you, which, I think is in general a good life strategy. But as an artist, I think I see it all the time, even educated about like basically you're a Magic Special person and you have a Magic Special vision, and the best people to work with are the people that let you do whatever you want. And that's, I think, childish. But that being said, I think there are limitations to what you are able to do as an artist, and there are things that you're going to do better. And there are times where you're like, this person's not a good partner. I just can't do it. And I think it's okay if you look and go like, if I do that, my work will suck though. Like I can't necessarily do it. You just got to know that you're making that kind of compromise.
Yeah. And that's your choice to make. We all have free will. We can all make those choices. So
it's not necessarily the only business plan. I was telling you before too, Lindsey, like there's a guy I work with who he could probably charge like $15K. He's a photographer, doesn't care, does whatever he wants, doesn't care what planners think. He's so good. He can charge like $7-8 grand, but he should be charging more. But he's just like, I don't want to do it. I'm going to do whatever I want. That's his choice. Yeah. That's totally. I love working with the guy, by the way. He's a blast. But at the end of the day, like I know planners are probably like, ugh, that guy.
Right.
The point of the podcast is how to make planners love you. And Lindsey and I, we shamelessly will try to make planners love us. If you want to be on that side of the argument, then you can do what we're saying. If you don't care and you're making plenty of money, then just ignore the whole thing.
Yeah. And that photographer's super happy. He's working the way he wants to work, and that's all right with him. I'm sure has no problem feeding his family and paying the bills, and that's fine.
But there's nobody, and this is why I wanted you to talk about this, Lindsey. There's nobody at the top of the game who's treating planners that way. No.
And it's a small world. The higher and higher you get in the industry, very small world.
I think there's maybe 20 filmmakers. 25.
Yeah, and everybody knows, everybody, and so a lot of these top planners, these wedding planners, they talk. That's how we've gotten a lot of the opportunities that we've gotten. Is because other planners have vouched for us and said, "Oh man, you got to work with Rêve." But guess what? The opposite can also happen. If you're not easy to work with, or if you have an ego, or whatever, like it gets around. And I've heard those stories. I've had, planners tell me about difficulties they've had with other vendors. And oh man, that's like, that's the last thing I want it to
me too.
Have happen to me.
That's like if that's how you feel, if you're hearing us say these things and you're like, that's me too, this might be a good way for you to go. And I will say this, like certain personalities are going to more naturally work in the planner game. Certain personalities, maybe not. And like, I can't necessarily speak towards that. I have the personality that I have. Jared has the personality he has. Lindsey and Cherish have the personalities that they have. But I would say, like, if you feel like you're the type of person that is able to assess the needs of another partner, that you are dependable, and that you're okay being a person who's willing to compromise to work with the team, this might be a really good way for you to go.
Absolutely. This is important to me. You know, our business is important to me. It's not the most important thing in my life, but it's how I provide for my kids. It's how I, provide for my family. And so this is what I've found. These are the philosophies and the tactics that I've used to maintain, a measure of success in our business. It's not the only way, but it's the way I've chosen to go. I'm happy. I'm super satisfied with what we do. At the end of the day, our clients, the couples that we have the privilege of working for, they love what the product they're getting. They love what they're getting. And that makes us feel really good. The planners are happy. Photographers like working with us. And so I have no problem, vouching for this kind of lifestyle and business model. It's served us well, and I've seen it work for so many other people. A lot of the videographers that are working with the same planners that we're working with have a similar philosophy, and so there has to be something to be said about that.
I'm just telling you, like Lindsey, I have an opportunity to edit for some of the top wedding filmmakers in the world, and it doesn't end. Like, what I'm doing is the same thing they're doing. Oh, this person needs this by 1 week. They need it. Like, this planner needs this. Oh, this planner needs this BTS made. Oh, this planner, like, everybody at the top is, because if you're doing a $2 million wedding, it's not like a one-day thing. It's like months and months of planning. I know planners that literally pick the outfits for the entire wedding party to coordinate with all the design. Yes. Like, it is that detailed for some of these folks, and then these people are wealthy and powerful, and if the planner fails them, they will end them. And so there's a lot of pressure, and so the last thing you want to be is like that squeaky wheel. Ideally, all you're doing is blessings and givings and loving and all that stuff.
You want to enhance the day. You want to enhance the day,
and after the day,
100%, and after the day. And speaking about dress, like even how you dress, is important. It's a reflection on the planner too. So that stuff, if that's important enough that they have their whole team dressing a specific way, then you should realize that's something that you have
to make note of every single interaction you have with that person. When I show up on a wedding day, I'm like, how are they dressed? When do they change? Like, exactly. What do they change into? Like, how are they walking? Do they speak loudly?
Yeah. All that stuff.
Like, if some planners talk loudly and they joke and they swear, some planners are like mouses. And like, I've had a planner, which I don't agree with. Like, I've had plenty of interactions with planners where I'm like, go pound sand. Like, I'm not doing that. like, because I'm like, because I'll tell Jared, I'll be like, I don't care. I don't want to work with them. That was horrible. Like, but so I'm not saying never stand up for yourself, by the way. Like, I've had a planner be like, don't speak to the client. And I'm like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to speak to them. Yeah. That's part of, like, I have to. I'm sorry. Like, if they told me ahead of time, and I could make it like, okay, do I want this or not? Yeah, okay, I probably would. But when day of, I asked the couple, where's the dress? And she tells me to ask her and not the client. I'm like, lady, you're not in the room. I got to shoot it now. Right. Like, get out of here with that. Like that's just, you think that's luxury. That's not luxury. Like, that's silly. That's true. That being said, for the most part, like, I'm willing to bend over backwards for these, mostly ladies, of course, sometimes men, but mostly ladies. And so I think one of the things as we close out is after the wedding, we've talked a little bit about giving reels and things like that. What are some other things you think that you do either, I guess it could be before, but outside of the context of an individual wedding that you find help planners love you? You've talked about engage a lot, so I think going to events where they are is, of course, one. But what are some things that you have done that will help planners love you that maybe are outside of the context of an individual wedding?
Yeah, I mean, anything that you would do for a close friend or family member, to show them that you care. If you did that with a planner, that's just going to help you out, So even just sending them a text, hey, I was thinking about you, or hey, I saw you posted this on, social media. Are you doing okay? Or, we've had natural disasters recently, reaching out to people that maybe are in those areas and checking on them. Like anything that you would do, like we're people, planners are people, like we all have needs and wants and desires and, for the most part, it's pretty consistent across the board. And so just showing that you care, in general is going to be huge. If they need help with other things, like we've had planners reach out to us, we had a planner reach out because a videographer sent them a video and they were having trouble downloading the video to post on social media. And that videographer wasn't available. They had some other stuff going on, which was understandable. And so we actually helped this planner like download and promote this other videographer's work. And, I could have, again, had an ego about it. I could have said, or even like backhandedly or secretly, like trying.
Wouldn't have happened if you hired me.
Right. Exactly. Didn't say that. We just said, hey, no worries. Hey, yeah, this is what you need to do. Here's, and we, walked her through it and she was super grateful, and, it helps that videographer, because they're obviously we're too busy to take care of it. And then, the planner is going to think of us and remember us for that again, so it just caring. Caring and treating people right, and that helps a lot. I've said this before again in workshops and stuff, but sometimes you'll reach out to a planner or a photographer or whatever and check up on them, and they remember you now. Like you remind them, oh, I have this gig that you'd be perfect for. I'm so glad you reached out. So it comes around, but even asking for help too is good. Like we ask our friends for help, right?
Yep.
So in the business world, and you talked a little bit about this earlier, but just even asking for help, people love helping people. And, when you ask a planner for business advice or, hey, what would you do in this situation or even personal things going on? They love to give their opinion. They love to give their advice, and it's going to make them feel closer to you. They might even start checking up on you. Hey, what happened with that, situation, So again, I guess just to kind of put it all under one umbrella, just treating people the way you would treat, a close friend or family member. And
you can't feel, it can't feel
wrong.
Overly tactical. I would tell people that
No.
it's like
has to be authentic.
it has to be authentic, Happy Mother's Day. Like, hey, I noticed you're killing it this year. You're working hard. You're a mom. I really appreciate that. Like noticing when they get published, when they have big wins. That was, commenting on their post, of course, but in a personal way, noticing and you have to know the difference too. Like social media is not real life. Using your business account to like their post is not the same as texting them, great job. Nope. I love the work you did, and I'm noticing your work. Oh, your work this year, it's so bright and vibrant, so many colors. Giving people real interested feedback about their life and letting them know, and there are no strings attached to it.
Yeah.
You're just letting them know, hey, I watch your stuff and it influences me.
Yeah. You have to. Yeah. If they feel like there are strings attached, then it's not authentic. They'll see right through that. But so a lot of times I will comment, on their
there's
social
nothing wrong
media
with
posts.
commenting, by the way.
This is awesome because that helps their algorithm, right? But if I really want, to feel like I'm close to that person, I will also text them, because that goes so much further. Anybody can just, as they're scrolling through Instagram, double tap on a thing or go, fire emoji or whatever, but it takes an extra level of effort to go into your messages app, type in their number, their name or whatever, and send them a personal text and you can be more personal, because the whole world's not watching, what you're saying to each other. So I think that's huge.
I think another thing that is a little tactical that you can do that helps them and it helps you and it has no direct specific wedding attached to it, but is we mentioned it earlier, make it easier to sell you by giving them resources. Give them your packages early. Give them everything that you would give a client as early so they can consider it and think about you. I will call them and say, hey, listen, we're making a consideration on this package. Would this be good for your clients? Would your clients like this or like this in their package? What is beneficial to them and you? We have a program called Concierge where we have custom workflows for every different planner because certain planners like certain things. So we make notes on them. Anyone we shoot more than 3 weddings for every year, we make a custom reel of all their entire footage for the whole year, and we give it to them in the off season because we're a little too busy, but we make like a cool marketing reel for them. I give them little clips for their website. I do web design, so I'm able to sit down with them and say, hey, I've been looking at your website. I think I have some clips you can use as your moving backgrounds. Do you want those? I am constantly spying on these people, trying to understand what their needs are and what their goals are. And not everyone bites. Not everyone's into it. Some people I'm like, that's weird. I sent you a reel. You never posted it. Oh, well. You can't get offended about that stuff.
No. Nope. Yeah, you got to let that stuff go.
You just got to, of course, people who are, receiving it and actually using it, put more into that. But definitely, you can't get offended. You can't, think about the things that will help them run their own businesses and market their businesses. And also think about when their content is dry. In New England, we don't have content from, December to April. So all these
stretch.
These planners are looking for things to post. So if I can be in the middle of the wintertime, give them a couple little bursts, for a lot of you guys, you're not doing 10 weddings a year like Rêve, 15 weddings. You're not working with luxury planners. You're not working in NDAs and all those things. Most of you are just working with your local people. And I will tell you, your local market has its own rhythm. And so figure out what that rhythm is and try to give them content when they're going to be a little slow. That is going to make you indispensable because I promise you, unless all of you are listening to this podcast and doing exactly what we say, but in general, most likely the other people in your market aren't doing that, and you will stand out. And they will love you, which is the point.
They will love you.
And you'll make you'll make friends. And I will tell you this. I guess the final benefit of making a planner love you is a lot of these people will become your friends and people that you really love and care about. And at the end of the day, you get to work with people you love and care about more often. And that's a lot of fun, right?
It's the best.
Yes. So, Lindsey, we're going to talk about photographers next because I think working with photographers is a little different. There's a lot of differences because you're both holding cameras, you're both posing the same people and usually in the same time. And our timelines are a lot more aligned and we need to sync up a little more than maybe the planners. And so we're going to talk about how do we make photographers love us. But as a final thing, guys, thank you so much for checking out the Wedding Film School show. We try to release every 2 weeks. We're going to be doing this one next week, though, because we want to make sure we're releasing this stuff with Lindsey in a timely fashion. But normally it's every 2 weeks. We thank you so much for all of you guys who listen, who download, thousands of you guys. It's just an awesome benefit for us, and we're super grateful to provide this resource. Lindsey, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, man. I love talking to you. And so hopefully you guys enjoyed it too, and you're going to listen to part 2. We're going to talk about how to make photographers love you. By the way, check us out on YouTube too. We have our normal channel, Wedding Film School, as well as the Wedding Film School Show YouTube channel, which is just kind of new. We're just getting started, so we love and we covet your subscription and your likes on those videos as well. So have a great day, guys. Bye.